Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. A Democrat was heard screaming at colleagues despite Schumer's unity claim as the shutdown was looming for later tonight. At the end of the day, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says he will vote to keep the government open, warning that a shutdown has worse consequences for Americans and would only empower President Donald Trump and Elon Musk further. Interpretation? Schumer caved to Trump. President Trump responds to Russian President Putin's ceasefire remarks on Ukraine. A Republican lawmaker is calling on the FBI to examine allegations concerning a major Democrat fundraising platform. And the state of California has formally requested a $3.4 billion loan from the federal government to support its program providing health care services to undocumented immigrants. And Lt Governor Pamela Evette joins us with an update on what's happening in the state capitol. It's a busy Friday.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says he will vote to keep the government open, warning that a shutdown has worse implications. He said on the Senate floor yesterday, "I believe it's my job to make the best choices for the country to minimize the harms to the American people. Therefore, I will vote to keep the government open and not shut it down." Schumer rattled off a list of reasons that he disagrees with the House-passed stopgap spending bill, but then added, "I believe allowing Donald Trump to take even much more power via a government shutdown is a far worse option." A vote to limit debate on the short-term spending bill, known as the continuing resolution, is tentatively scheduled for sometime around 1:15 this afternoon on Friday. There's not a set time for a final confirmation vote, and it's uncertain whether the measure will garner enough Democrat votes to move forward, but one would suspect that with Schumer's support, that it will. Earlier in the day, a reporter talked about how they heard screaming in the Democrat caucus meeting. It was reported that they thought it was the voice of Kirsten Gillibrand from New York screaming inside of this private lunch, supposedly disagreeing with the idea that Democrats might vote to allow the government to shut down. Senator John Fetterman from Pennsylvania was also known to object as well. Schumer told reporters last night that he made his decision because we want the attention of the American people not focused on different bills that they would bring to the floor during the shutdown. We'd rather focus on our message, which is beginning to work. Now, wonder what message that is that Chuck Schumer thinks is starting to work. According to him, the Democrats' message is that they're hurting the middle class to give tax breaks for the billionaires. When asked what changed between Wednesday and Thursday, because you may recall on Wednesday, and I shared that with you yesterday, Schumer was dead set. In fact, he was ready to let the government shut down. He said as of yesterday, there were not enough votes to pass it. He claimed that the Republicans would not get the votes needed. But something changed. Something drastically changed, and the good senator from New York has reversed course. Don't you know that just really, really disappoints him that Donald Trump stared him down? I told you yesterday, Chuck Schumer should know not to get into a chicken fight with Donald Trump. Schumer's floor announcement comes days after some very tense Democrat Senate caucus meetings all week long. I mean, they have been at each other all week because they haven't been able to come to a consensus on how to approach this. Schumer had claimed in remarks on Wednesday that his caucus was unified. But yet, reporters outside of the doors of the caucus got a different message as they heard them literally screaming at one another. This, of course, comes after the House voted on in a party line vote, 217 to 213, that they would keep the government open for the next 6 months for the rest of the fiscal year, which ends September the 30th. But the unity that Schumer described was not evident. It wasn't showing up. Senator John Fetterman was quoted as saying, "I've seen the videos that they're going to shut it down." He said, "I'm like that spicy, I don't know. I don't know if they'll do it or not." He was referring to several of his colleagues who had preemptively said that they planned to oppose the stopgap bill's advancement. One of the lawmakers to do so was Mark Warner from Virginia. He told reporters that there are no good choices while defending his decision. Questioned about his claim of caucus unity, Schumer's office did not provide comments. Yeah, suddenly Chuck Schumer was caught without words. It's going to be interesting. Again, later today, around 1 o'clock or so, they'll take a final vote. Other things in the news. President Donald Trump has reacted to Russian President Putin's recent comments regarding a potential ceasefire agreement in Ukraine. While Putin acknowledged Trump's principles in pushing for peace, he stopped short of committing to a truce. President Trump expressed hope that Russia would agree to the ceasefire, emphasizing the importance of ending hostilities in the region. Also, a Republican lawmaker has called on the FBI to examine allegations concerning a major Democrat fundraising platform. The platform is accused of engaging in questionable financial activities, prompting concerns about the integrity of political fundraising processes. Well, we know when it comes to Democrat fundraising, there is no integrity to the process. The lawmaker described the claims as alarming and emphasized the need for a thorough investigation to ensure transparency and accountability. I'm not quite sure which organization he's talking about yet. Also, during a recent committee hearing, a House Democrat launched a passionate critique against tech entrepreneur and Doge head Elon Musk. The congressman accused Musk of irresponsible promotion of cryptocurrencies, leading to market volatility and potential harm to investors. The outburst highlights the growing scrutiny of digital currencies and the influence of these high-profile figures on financial markets. Now, personally, I don't know enough about this whole cryptocurrency thing to even consider investing in them. In fact, I don't understand them at all. Maybe some of you can help me out here. Email me, joe@joeyhudson.com, or text me, because I just don't get the whole cryptocurrency thing. All right, now get this. The state of California has formally requested a $3.4 billion loan from the federal government to support its program providing health care services to undocumented immigrants. Now, remember a few weeks ago when Gavin Newsome showed up at the airport to greet Donald Trump uninvited, and they were seen out on the tarmac, and Gavin Newsome was so very friendly, was literally groveling with Trump. Well, it was revealed just a few weeks ago as well that the state of California had $6 billion in expected cost of Medi-Cal, but it's now roughly $9.5 billion, so they got a slight shortfall. This comes after it became state law to allow people to qualify for the program regardless of their immigration status. Medi-Cal is the state's Medicaid system for certain Golden State residents, which takes both federal and state taxpayer dollars, according to a state government website. So California allows illegals to participate in their health care program. They've come up short now, and they want the federal government, they want you and me to help bail them out. What's wrong with that? Critics said Governor Gavin Newsom lied and cooked the books to gift all illegal immigrants free health care, and now has stuck California taxpayers with a multi-billion-dollar bill. This was Representative Carl DeMaio, a Republican from San Diego. Look, I hope that somebody in the federal government will stand up to this. Let Gavin Newsom come up with an idea of where he can make up the difference. The American taxpayers shouldn't have to fund the difference after California made this decision on their own. You agree? Email me, joeyhudson.com. Hi, Joey Hudson here. You know, this spring there's a renewed energy and focus on efficiencies, and shaking up unhealthy habits don't serve us well. There's so much chatter about making America great again, but it starts in your home with you being the best, healthiest version of yourself. And PhD Weight Loss is doing their part, because for the first time ever, the first 11 callers get 2 free weeks added to your weight loss program. That is huge. PhD's out to prove that you don't need Big Pharma to reach your goals. It just creates dependency, not long-term change. Dr. Ashley Lucas researched weight loss trends for years and discovered a scientifically proven way to retrain your body to burn fat efficiently without hunger, extreme exercise, or dangerous medications. PhD clients watch their belly fat disappear, their energy skyrocket, cholesterol and blood pressure normalize without starving themselves. I lost over 30 pounds and I've never felt better. So call now and mention promo code Joey for my 2 weeks for free with my program. Call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. Yesterday was a pretty busy day on the international front. President Donald Trump meeting with the NATO Secretary General. And during the discussion in a press conference, the president was asked about Canada, and he says that Canada only works as a state, saying that they don't have anything that we really need otherwise.
Finance minister are in town and will meet members of your administration during the day. Any chances that you will ban on the tariffs on aluminum and the ones that are planned for April 2nd?
No.
You are not going to change your mind?
No, not. Look, we've been ripped off for years, and we're not going to be ripped off anymore. No, I'm not going to bend at all. Aluminum or steel or cars. We're not going to bend. We've been ripped off as a country for many, many years. We've been subjected to costs that we shouldn't be subjected to. In the case of Canada, we're spending $200 billion a year to subsidize Canada. I love Canada. I love the people of Canada. I have many friends in Canada. The great one, Wayne Gretzky, the great. How good is Wayne Gretzky? He's the great one. But we have, I know many people from Canada that are good friends of mine. But, you know, the United States can't subsidize a country for $200 billion a year. We don't need their cars. We don't need their energy. We don't need their lumber. We don't need anything that they give. We do it because we want to be helpful. But it comes a point when you just can't do that. You have to run your own country. And to be honest with you, Canada only works as a state. It doesn't. We don't need anything they have. As a state, it would be one of the great states anyway. This would be the most incredible country visually. If you look at a map, they drew an artificial line right through it between Canada and the U.S., just a straight artificial line. Somebody did it a long time ago, many, many decades ago, and makes no sense. It's so perfect as a great and cherished state. Keeping "O Canada," the national anthem. I love it. I think it's great. Keep it. But it'll be for the state, one of our greatest states, maybe our greatest state. But why should we subsidize another country for $200 billion? It costs us $200 billion a year. And again, we don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We have more than they do. We don't need anything. We don't need their cars. I'd much rather make the cars here. And there's not a thing that we need. Now, there'll be a little disruption, but it won't be very long. But they need us. We really don't need them. And we have to do this. I'm sorry. We have to do this, yes.
Talk about a shot across the bow of Canada. That was a shot across the bow. Meanwhile, we may be watching history unfold here. Real diplomacy, real peace being brokered by President Trump. The media's not going to say it. The bureaucrats certainly aren't going to admit it. The warmongers in Washington are panicking. But here's what you need to know. Trump may actually end the war in Ukraine, just as he promised. You know, he said that within a very short period of time of becoming president, he thought he could work this out. This is the same war that Joe Biden escalated, that the defense contractors profited from, and that the globalist elites told us would go on for years. Donald Trump is stepping in saying enough. And this is why Donald Trump is feared among the elite in Washington. This is why the swamp has fought to keep him out, because he doesn't play their game. He doesn't bow to the endless war machine. He's actually trying to make peace happen. Again, yesterday, during a meeting with the NATO Secretary General, Trump talked about a ceasefire.
We're going to be discussing a lot of things. Obviously, we'll be discussing what's happening with respect to Ukraine and Russia. At this moment, we have people talking in Russia. We have representatives over there, Steve Witkoff and others. And they're in very serious discussions. As you know, Ukraine has agreed, subject to this, what's happening today, to a complete ceasefire, and we hope Russia will do the same. Thousands of people are being killed, young people, usually, mostly young people. We were just talking about it. Thousands of young people are being killed a week, and we want to see that stop.
And guess what? It appears that Putin is listening. The Russian president acknowledged Trump's proposal and says he agrees with it in principle, quote. So let's pause right there, because when was the last time you heard a sitting American president actually bring world leaders to the table instead of making empty speeches about democracy while sending billions of your tax dollars overseas? That sound familiar? That's sort of the Biden way of diplomacy. Send them billions of dollars, and maybe they'll be our friend. Maybe they'll give my son a job. Maybe they'll put him on a few boards. Of course, Putin didn't just immediately say yes. He thanked Trump for his efforts, but made it clear there's some sticking points, evidently, but specifically Ukraine's NATO status and the big power plant over there. So what does this tell us? It tells us that negotiations are real, that Putin's really going to come to the table, that Putin is listening to what Donald Trump says. And that's the game that these guys play at that level. Remember in middle school, how when you wanted somebody to know something, you just kind of told other people and it just got back to you? You know, kids are bad about that, talking about other people, and particularly kids that they don't like. So they know if they tell certain people, those people are going to certainly go back and tell the ones that they really want the message to get to. That's how diplomacy works on the world level as well. Because quite honestly, people don't change a whole lot. Yeah, we do things differently when we're kids, but to a large degree, adults act the same way, don't we? And that's what we're actually talking about as far as an end game here. Trump is talking to the media, knowing that Putin is watching it. Putin responds knowing that Trump is watching it. And so they're kind of back and forth, putting their toe in the water to try to get an idea of what the other will agree to. And so think about this. Trump classified Putin's response as promising but incomplete. Now, that sent the message right back to Putin. And that, my friends, is the art of the deal. That's leadership. Trump isn't running around screaming. Putin is Hitler, like the Democrats do every time they see a poll that doesn't go their way. Trump is putting pressure on both sides, Ukraine and Russia, to get a deal done, to bring them together. Because he wants peace. He doesn't want those young soldiers losing their life, as he mentions about every time he talks about it. And he certainly doesn't want us to have to continue to send billions of dollars to Ukraine. So compare that to Joe Biden's approach. What did Joe Biden do? He just wrote a check, kept pouring billions of dollars into Ukraine with no accountability, because Putin didn't respect Joe Biden. You know, when Donald Trump talks about that this probably would have never happened had he been president, some people think that's just hyperbole. That's Trump being Trump, braggadocious. But he's probably right. Putin had no respect for Joe Biden whatsoever. He does have respect for Donald Trump. And I think Putin probably understands that Donald Trump was elected with a mandate, that the American people are going to do what Donald Trump wants to do. And that is what terrifies Putin. He refused to negotiate with Biden. And look, this whole deal, the way Biden handled it, that let thousands of people die while arms dealers got rich. He sent our hard-earned money to keep a war going on without any type of exit plan. And where did that get us? Nowhere. Didn't get Ukraine anywhere. Certainly didn't get Russia anywhere. Trump's proving that he's right all along. Because, again, he said this war would have never happened in the first place. He said Biden's weaknesses caused it. Now he's actually getting Putin to the table. And you know what that means? That means Trump commands respect. That means Trump is feared by world leaders, but he's respected by world leaders. And that means Trump's going to do what no other president's been able to do in decades. He's making America the global leader in peace again. The war machine does not want this to end. The globalists in Brussels, the defense contractors, the establishment uniparty, they love war. They make billions off of it. They get more control, more funding, more power. So don't be surprised when you hear the media spin this against Trump. They're going to say, well, Trump's siding with Putin. He's cozying up with the Russians. Trump's abandoning Ukraine. No, folks, Trump is saving Ukraine from total destruction. And he's doing it without sending another dime of our money. And let's be honest here. Zelensky's not happy about it. He's been running around demanding even more money. He's been running around in Europe talking with his European allies, trying to get them to gang up against America. Hey, look, if you don't want our money, if you don't want our help, that's fine. Let the Europeans write you a check for $1 billion or $2 billion or $3 billion. Because under Biden, he could get whatever he wanted to. Zelensky, all he had to do is ask Joe Biden, well, send me another $1 billion, and Biden would do it. If Zelensky refuses this, Trump's going to say, well, so what? Do what you want to do. If you're not ready for peace, it's going to be a very disappointment moment for the world, but it's going to be rough for you. Because Trump will let him dangle out there, I'm sure. So let's talk about the big picture. President Trump is using diplomacy, and he's doing it from the standpoint of strength. What a real leader does. So Trump's going to push for a ceasefire. Putin's listening. NATO's at the table. The deep state's in the panic mode, and for the first time in years, we're closer to ending this war than ever before, literally within less than 2 months of Donald Trump being back in the Oval Office. It's just that simple. I've really gotten behind on text messages this week, and I hope to share a few with you, but I just got to talk about this topic that's sort of making its rounds, and that's the idea of property taxes and rescinding property taxes. Do you ever feel like that you're just renting your home from the government? Well, that's the movement that we're seeing get some legs, as the April tax day is coming around pretty quickly. Fiscal conservative leaders in a number of states are pushing to abolish property taxes. In Pennsylvania, for example, one lawmaker is arguing that homeowners shouldn't have to, quote, pay rent to the government. Representative Russ Diamond says that ahead of his latest effort to end the collection of property taxes in the Keystone State, he's going to put forward a resolution which will be filed this week. The document is a draft constitutional amendment that he hopes will go to the voters on Election Day. And that's the thing. In Pennsylvania, they can put something on the ballot and go directly to the voters and not have the legislature nor the governor be involved in it. Pennsylvania Republicans previously utilized this constitutional amendment process to accelerate the rollback of COVID-19 lockdowns, which were being imposed by then Governor Tom Wolf. Remember that? And that was when that goofy, their health secretary Rachel Levine was in office as well. They placed the amendment directly before the voters on Election Day. Well, he wants to do the same thing when it comes to property taxes. He said property taxes are an issue that is not exactly partisan because in some areas it's more of a big deal than others. And he gave some examples of different parts of Pennsylvania where property taxes are a big deal. He said, for me, the big deal is that I want people to own their homes and not have to rent them from the government all across Pennsylvania. In a recent post on Substack, Diamond wrote that every time the topic comes up, he said, folks get all twisted into knots over how we're going to pay for the things those taxes currently pay for. Frankly, they're missing the point, he said. Boiled down to its very essence, fulfilling the promise of personal liberty is impossible if you can't actually own a piece of real property. Diamond told Fox News that the late Pennsylvania Supreme Court Justice Michael Masmano called the ability to be master of one's fate the greatest joy that can be experienced by mortal man. Now, at the other end of I-95, down in Florida, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis asked a similar question in his State of the State just last week. The governor said, is the property yours, or are you just renting it from the government? Same talking points there. He said you buy a home, you pay off a mortgage, yet you still have to write a check to the government every year to just live on your own property. He makes a point, doesn't he? Governor DeSantis noted that Florida home values have surged, escalating assessments, creating a gusher of revenue for local governments. He said taxpayers need relief, adding that some of the pending legislation in the Florida legislature is seeking protections for homeowners that will have his support. Now, according to the Florida Prospect, State Senator Jonathan Martin of Fort Myers, Florida, is one lawmaker who also believes the same thing. Martin's new legislation calls for a property tax elimination framework to be subject to a study. In other words, see, Florida doesn't have any state income tax either, so you got to remember that. So if property tax goes away, which property taxes in Florida are excessive, but how are you going to pay for those services? So Representative Martin is saying we got to examine the impacts on public services, changes to the appeals to businesses who are in Florida now and who may be moving here, because the brunt of it's going to have to be borne by businesses paying more in corporate income tax, I would suppose. I mean, you got to make it up somewhere, and that's the real dilemma that these states who are wanting to do this will, how do they do that? Meanwhile, move north to New Jersey, the state with the highest property taxes in the U.S., Republicans have long pushed for relief. That now a key Democrat ally is backing their efforts. Representative Josh Gothmeier, he's running for governor. He wrote an op-ed for one of the state newspapers that promised lower costs for residents. He said, for the naysayers, I'm going to detail exactly how my tax cut plan for Jersey generates at least $7.9 billion in savings for Jersey to pay $5.9 billion in tax cuts. Gothheimer's plan would include a rental tax credit, a 15% property tax cut, and a bonus for seniors choosing to retire to the Garden State. Indiana, for example, also has laid out plans to cap their property tax bills, not to eliminate completely, but to cap them, particularly for seniors who, after they retire, just can't afford to keep paying them. Republican Indiana Governor Mike Braun said Biden inflation caused property tax bills in Indiana to go crazy, and too many Hoosier seniors are struggling with paying their homes because of these bills. Hawaii, Alabama, and Nevada have the lowest effective property taxes, while New Jersey, Illinois, and Connecticut rank among the highest. During his term, Pennsylvania Democrat Governor Josh Shapiro promoted expanding the Pennsylvania property tax and rent rebate program, which age homeowners over 65, which, I get that. Again, it's probably going to be very difficult to completely eliminate property taxes, but there should be some relief for people when they get to a certain age, they're retired, and they no longer have the same income that they did when they were younger and working. You agree? You want your property taxes to at least be capped somewhere? Email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. All right, on the text line. Barry says, Joey, identify as a nut. And everybody I know says that's right. He's a nut. Of course, Barry's talking about this week. We talked about the guy who identified as a turtle. His pronouns were they, them, turtle. Wow, that still just blows me away. Ray says, good day, Joey. I watch oil prices each day, and they're low and have been falling for some time. So why are gas prices going up around Seneca? I love the free market, so why do the prices at all stations change at the same time? Sorry, I feel collusion among all the retailers when all go up and down within a day by the same amount. Maybe some of the fuel distributors could explain. I spend more on fuel than I do on eggs, just asking. Well, Ray, I do think that a lot of the stores, they watch those big price lines, and when their competitor across the corner raises theirs, they raise theirs, and likewise they reduce it. I think you're on to something there, Ray. Texter, this is Faye, says, morning, Joey. The only thing wrong with O'Donnell going to Ireland is that she didn't take half of Hollywood with her. We can hope they will follow her. Well, yes, you're right, Faye. Dom from Illinois says, good day, Joey. In regards to Rosie O'Donnell, a lot of you commented on the story of Rosie O'Donnell moving to Ireland. He says, unlike most people commenting, I give Rosie a lot of credit. First off, she says in her speech that this is Rosie O'Donnell, star of the Flintstones. I give her a lot of credit when she admits to being a star of what many classify as one of the top 10 worst movies. Its ratings were dismal, and that's the best she could come up with. Second, Rosie applying for Irish citizenship. I give her a lot of credit for proving everything President caps just to make her angry. Trump, all caps, has ever said about her. She proved that there must be a screw loose to leave the one place on the planet that could possibly make someone with as little talent as she as rich as she is. But then, I didn't hear that she gave up her house, condo, apartment here in the States either. Imagine that. Be well, Joey. God bless, and thank you for giving us listeners a voice. Dom in Illinois. Look, Dom, I always appreciate you. And again, many more of you wrote about Rosie O'Donnell. Another says, who cares about Rosie O'Donnell? I totally forgot that there was a Rosie O'Donnell. People like her that thinks and acts the way she does should be shipped off with all of the illegal immigrants. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. On our guest line, Lt Governor Pamela Evette. Good morning. Good talking with you again, as always.
Well, good morning, Joey. It's good to talk with you. We've made it through almost another week. I see the finish line, although I will be at the St. Patrick's Day Parade this Saturday. So I hope to see all your listeners out there yell and shout for your Lieutenant Governor. I'll be happy to wave at you and wish you a happy St. Patrick's Day.
It's hard to believe St. Patrick's Day is already here.
It goes so fast, Joey. We talk about, I remember my grandma used to say, the older you get, the quicker time goes.
Oh, yeah.
Man, she was not joking.
Yeah. Well, this year just seems to be flying by. Maybe it's because of all the good stuff that's happening,
I think so.
It's just there's something great every day. But by the way, speaking of, yesterday was Working Moms Day. Look, every day should be Working Moms Day because of all the things that all of you moms do.
Wow. To all the moms out there, you are rock stars. And I get it, right? Just because you work, you're always still the first person, right, that your kids call when they leave their homework at home, they don't feel good, they're nervous about a test or a paper that they're turning in. And so you never turn it off, right? It's always double duty when you're a working mom. So to all the moms out there, you are heroes. You do so much for your families, so much that goes unnoticed, right? The things we do every day, the fact that cereal is in the pantry and milk is in the refrigerator and the Gatorade they need for soccer or baseball or whatever they're playing is waiting for them to go to practice. So, yeah, you're all heroes. So keep doing what you're doing. You're creating great future adults.
Yep. Well, moms do a lot of things, and we can't live. Life would be a lot tougher without our moms. And so congrats to all the moms, including our Lieutenant Governor mom. So,
well, thank you. It's the biggest joy of my life. And although there are days you just think you could strangle them, right? You're like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? That you wouldn't do it for the world, and I wouldn't give it up for the world. So yeah. You're right. It's the biggest gift you get.
Yeah. Seems like every week we talk a little about tort reform. The House passed their bill, sent it over to the state Senate. It looks like the Senate bill 244 it has stalled. What can you tell us? Give us an update on that.
Well, yes, there was some amendments that were put up on that bill last week. I think Stephen Goldfinch has put them up. There were some people that, voted yes on the amendment. Senator Kimbrough being one of them, which pretty much stopped the bill.
Yeah.
And so now, I haven't heard that it's completely dead yet. And they're trying to work through some things, but now the House bill will go over to the Senate. We'll see what pieces the Senate want to add to the House bill, if any. Hopefully they'll take it up. Like I said, we had a lot of local businesses. We saw the Spinks family down there in Columbia for the press conference that the governor and I had, basically telling the General Assembly to get something that protects business and protects the people of South Carolina and get it to the governor's desk, that there is a way to find a way to pretty much you won't make everybody completely happy, right?
Right.
But do your job and get it done. And so I'm hoping that something gets. The governor and I kind of keep following it closely, but everything is upstairs above us in the legislature. And the House had a busy week this week. They were in, I don't think they dismissed till after 12:30 on Tuesday, going over the budget. Mm-hmm. So lots going on this week in the General Assembly.
Well, and that's the concerning part, is they will get busy with the budget, and I hope that they don't push the tort reform to the side. And the thing that worries me a bit about the House bill, and I'm glad they took some action, but their bill primarily just limits the amount of coverage that you have to have. So, for example, rather than $1 million, I think they reduced it to $250. So it could potentially lower your insurance rates. Probably not going to lower them a lot, but it really doesn't. It's not really tort reform. It doesn't solve some of the problems that we had with lawsuits to begin with.
That's right. What we want to get to, I think this issue has become, very convoluted, right? Everybody has a side in this. A lot of people saying, oh no, the bill's bad because it's only helping insurance companies. Other people saying, no, we have to stop trial attorneys. That was the governor's point. That's been my point. Is there's a way to help everybody. You need insurance people in the market, right? Yep. We need to have a market, whether we like insurance companies or we don't like insurance companies. And most of us, don't like dealing with insurance companies. I'm with everybody else, right? But it's a necessary evil. And when you create an environment here in the state that nobody really wants to play in, right? If you can't get insurance companies excited about this market, then what ends up happening is insurance gets more and more expensive.
Yeah.
And so it has to be addressed to a certain extent. We have to figure out, how do we keep people safe? And as you said, when you see those business owners down there, what they're worried about, you hear about the big lawsuits, right?
Yeah.
These frivolous lawsuits that get people, get companies involved that really have no part in it or seem to have no part in it. Every case is different, but it's death by 1,000 cuts when you really hear people talking. It's the fact that there's so many, $20,000 payouts, $30,000 payouts, $40,000 payouts just to settle.
Yeah.
And it's death by 1,000 cuts to where now insurance companies are just like, we can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
So it is complex. It's not an easy, it's not a one issue thing, but we have to protect our small businesses. But we also have to protect people, right? If by no fault of your own, you know, somebody is really negligent, whether they're drunk driving or acting reckless, and they, you know, you're minding your own business and they hit you in your vehicle on the street, you know, we want to make sure that, you know, you're able now to take yourself, have the resources to get whole again, and to keep your family moving while that's happening. So there is a balance, right? And we're not saying it should lean one way or the other, but let's sit down. A lot of smart people down at the Capitol. We can all sit down and find a way to kind of help everybody.
Yeah. Well, and that's what concerns me about the House bill reducing the limits that businesses need to have, because again, reducing it from $1 million to $250, I don't think you're going to see a big difference in premium, but yet you're going to have accidents and situations to where people aren't going to be made whole because the insurance coverage isn't there, and that can be concerning in itself. But there's still a lot of time this spring, so hopefully they'll get the right thing done. Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette, always a pleasure. You be safe out there. We'll catch up again next week.
Well, Joey, you too. And again, I hope to see everybody downtown Greenville on Saturday morning for the St. Patrick's Day parade. You know, happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. It's coming, and you know, everybody's Irish on St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yes.
Nice, man. And
that's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.